They accused me of being a spy, not for money, not for ideology, but because I asked the wrong question about the wrong invoice. 2 months later, their CEO resigned live on air. 3 board members disappeared, and $18 million in offshore transfers went public. I never raised my voice. I just made sure the truth did. My name is Elena Morris, Senior Data Operations Specialist, 7 years at Dynorel Corp. I didn't dress loud. I didn't network at rooftop parties. I didn't need to. My dashboards always ran smooth. My risk models flagged real threats. And once, just once, the CTO called me the invisible load-bearing beam of this company. I wasn't offended. He was right. I was never the face. But remove me, and you'd feel the shake. Dynorel was beautiful on the surface. Glass walls, full-stocked pantry, global vision posters with words like resilience and transparency on every floor. But everyone knew the real rule. Look busy. Say little. Obey faster than you think. It worked well for people who knew how to look smart. Me. I preferred being useful. I didn't expect loyalty in return, but I didn't expect to be erased either. I remember the day the ground shifted. It was a Thursday. Rainy. Q2 wrap-up meeting. I stayed behind after most people left. I had noticed something odd in our billing logs. Of $4, $2 million transfer labeled Orion Freight Ludi D. Ill payment routed through Tel Aviv for rapid humanitarian logistics. That in itself wasn't strange. Dynorel worked in over 30 countries. But the vendor code was wrong. It bypassed 2 approval layers. And the payment timestamp predated the signed delivery agreement by 2 weeks. In our system, that shouldn't be possible. I screenshotted it, flagged it in a private file. Then I did something I now know was very stupid. I emailed Julia Redding, our department head, with a simple question. Hi, Julia. Just a heads up, noticed Orion Freight's file has a mismatch in approval flow. Should I reroute for audit? No reply. Instead, the next morning, my system access was temporarily suspended for maintenance. A minor thing, but I've worked with anomalies long enough to know. Glitches don't act like guilt. That weekend, my ID badge stopped opening the elevator before 8 a.m. My name vanished from the Project Hydra dashboard, a system I had personally built 2 years earlier. Julia passed me in the hallway. She smiled, but not like before. Her eyes didn't stop. They scanned me like they were checking for damage. That's when I knew something was shifting. And whatever it was, my name was now attached to it. I went quiet. Didn't push. Didn't ask again. But I started printing things. Old approval chains. Vendor logs. Internal emails from the finance sync team. Not because I suspected anything, not yet, but because some part of me already understood. This wasn't about the invoice. It was about what it represented. One quiet question in a fake transparent company. And suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was radioactive. I didn't tell anyone. Not my sister. Not even Naira, my closest friend in the team, who once called me the company's built-in moral compass. I wanted to believe it was temporary. A miscommunication, a system update. But something else happened that Monday. Julia called a sudden meeting. She praised the entire data team, gave shout-outs, promised bonuses. Everyone but me. She skipped my name like it was never in the org chart. Later that evening, I received a meeting invite from HR. Subject line: confidential internal risk inquiry. Attached was a PDF. No explanation, just one line in the footer. Please arrive without any personal devices. Monday, 9:03 My keycard still worked barely. The scanner at the lobby paused a full second before the light turned green. Not long enough to raise alarms, but just long enough to make me notice. It was the first glitch. It wouldn't be the last. My workstation had been reset. No desktop background. No shortcuts. No saved files. Just a clean desktop like I'd never logged in before. I opened Slack. Hydra Ops gone. Vendor Risk Chat gone. My name wasn't listed in any project channel I used to manage. I checked the internal dashboard. Error 403. Access forbidden. I had been the architect of that dashboard. And now, I couldn't even view it. I pinged it. No reply. I pinged again politely. Still nothing. That's when I opened the org chart. Just a habit. My name had been moved. From Senior Data Operations Specialist under Julia's team to an empty placeholder node labeled Ops, Review. I stared at it for a full minute. Lunch came and went. No one invited me. Not even Naira. I walked past the kitchen. Conversations died mid-sentence. I heard someone whisper she's still here. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was something worse. I was untouchable. That evening, I stayed behind. I wanted to see if anything would shift after hours. Sometimes systems reset after 6 p.m. when fewer eyes are watching. At 7:12 p.m., a file popped into the shared finance folder. Unencrypted. Accidentally exposed. Q2 vendor flow export draft private. I clicked it. Just one tab, a short summary of pending offshore payments for priority accounts. The amounts were small, spread out. But 5 of the vendor names matched what I had flagged last week, including Orion Freight. Line 14 listed a disbursement tagged expedite per IR2 clearance. IR. The country code for Iran, it was probably innocent. A typo, an internal reference code. But I had worked long enough to know that when the wrong letters appear in the wrong rows, people go missing. I didn't screenshot it. I printed it. 3 copies, 2 to keep, 1 to lose, just in case. The next morning, Julia didn't say a word to me, but by 10 a.m., I was called into a small glass-walled room with no clock. HR Director Megan sat at the table. She didn't offer coffee, didn't ask how I was doing. She just gestured to the chair across from her, opened a thin manila folder, and said the words I hadn't expected so soon. We've been alerted to an unusual pattern in your access history. Some of it includes foreign-coded vendor files outside your department's scope, combined with location metadata from a personal device near a flagged zone. Well, you can understand our concern. I didn't respond. Megan turned the folder toward me. Inside was a printout, an email mine with 2 highlighted lines, the one where I asked Julia about Orion Freight, and another edited line I hadn't written, referencing external validation via ILIR routing, IR, Israel, Iran. I stared at it. The formatting didn't even match. This is doctored, I said quietly. Megan gave me a bland smile. That's not our determination to make. Your severance package includes 2 months' pay and continued health benefits. We're framing this as a mutual decoupling to protect your record. I looked at her. I remembered when she laughed at my Halloween costume, when she cried at someone's retirement party. Now she wouldn't meet my eyes. Do you have any questions? She asked. I had one. How long have you been waiting to do this? No answer. Just the slow closing of the folder. I packed my desk in silence. No one looked up. No one said goodbye. The elevator ride down felt like falling through concrete. But when the doors opened, the Chicago air felt colder, cleaner. I looked up at the glass tower I had helped keep standing for 7 years, and then I walked away. No drama, no rage, but in my pocket was a flash drive. And on that flash drive was a mistake they didn't know they left behind. I didn't speak to anyone for 3 days. Not even my sister, who let me crash on her couch. Not even Naira, who texted twice and then stopped. I just sat there watching the ceiling like it owed me answers. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't start a job search. I just stopped. For 72 hours, I didn't exist, and no one seemed to notice. On the 4th night, something shifted. Not big, not loud, just a small click in my brain like a relay being tripped. I opened my laptop, not to look for work, not yet, just to organize the mess inside my head. I didn't know what I was looking for. So I followed habit, file by file, folder by folder, until I landed on something I hadn't touched in months. Q2, vendor audit draft folder. My last major project, the one I was removed from without explanation. I opened it. Line 41. Orion Freight lotted. Again, a vendor tagged approved via expedited channel. The same name, but now there was a change. 2 invoices, same amount, same purpose, same date, but routed through 2 different approval chains. One signed off by Julia, the other by someone listed only as Temp Finance Review Dinnerell. I hovered my mouse over the name, no linked profile. No history, just a shadow account, created 3 months ago. Deactivated last week. That's when I leaned back in my chair. This wasn't sloppiness. This wasn't poor oversight. It was a blueprint. Someone was running money through fake vendors, and they were rotating the signatures, just enough to avoid the audit flags I had helped build. I started tracing, pulled emails, scanned metadata, cross-referenced timestamps, and I kept asking one question. Why use my name? Why risk forging my access logs? Why risk dragging me into it at all? The answer came slower than I expected, but when it hit, it was simple. Because I was the clean one, the quiet one, the perfect alibi. They never thought I'd look. They thought I'd fold, leave, hide, disappear. They forgot the one thing that made me dangerous. I never deleted anything. That night, I turned my sister's kitchen table into a war room. Printouts, USB drives, color-coded notes, archived Slack threads, hand-drawn org maps, no music, no TV, no distractions. I didn't eat a full meal for 36 hours, but I wasn't hungry. I was locked in. And the deeper I dug, the more I realized I wasn't the only one they'd tried to erase. At 2:14 I got an email. No name, no signature. Just a burner Gmail account. Subject line. They did the same thing to me. Inside, saw your screenshots on that blog before it went down. You're not crazy. I worked in finance, got pushed out last year after flagging duplicate vendors. I still have the old ledger backups. Want them? I stared at the message for a long time and then typed one word. Yes. By morning, the zip file had arrived. Hundreds of documents. Vendor logs, approval chains, internal memos, most marked confidential, no external distribution. Whoever sent it, they weren't bluffing. I scanned the contents for hours. Half the data matched what I already suspected. The other half was worse. Buried deep in a Q2 archive folder, 5 invoices from Orion Freight, 2 from Redland Maritime, and 1 from Axis Ed Ludwig. All 3 companies were routed through the same financial server. A hosting firm in Cyprus. Each had listed project descriptions like emergency logistics deployment, export assurance under strategic alignment, all vague, all approved, all signed by someone in legal who had retired early last year. I checked the metadata. All the PDFs had been generated using the same export software. Same font, same typo and line spacing, different names, same fingerprints. It was the same ghost, just wearing new masks. Then came the kicker. A document labeled iris_v3_confidential notes. Tiesto. Iris, the name of a failed vendor database project we shelved 2 years ago. I hadn't heard that name since. I opened it. Inside, a list of vendor codes, all fake, all tied to shell companies, all marked as cleaned cycle closed. Each had an internal note attached. Line 18, ORF 19,211 Orion Freight looted. Used Q2Q33X, employee cover, E. Morris. Audit trail locked. I stared at the line. Employee cover, E. Morris. They hadn't just forged a few logs. They built an entire structure around my digital identity. I wasn't just a casualty. I was camouflage. And suddenly, it clicked. The calendar shuffle, the fake maintenance notice, the mutual decoupling email. They were preparing the exit before I even asked the question. They had needed me to vanish, so the paper trail would look clean once I was gone. But they made a mistake. They thought I would walk away empty-handed. I compiled everything, cross-checked it with public filings, built a spreadsheet with 4 columns, vendor name, internal approver, fund flow, outcome disappeared, shut down, still active. The pattern was clear. Every 2 quarters, they rotated names, shifted approvers, and always used someone on their way out to take the final signature. It was systematic, calculated, quiet. And once in a while, they used a clean name. Like mine, I saved the master folder under a new name, Lazarus, because the story they thought they'd buried was about to rise. I backed it up 3 times, 2 encrypted cloud drives, 1 hidden flash. Then I set a failsafe. If I didn't check in within 72 hours, everything would be sent to a short list of investigative journalists, a forensic accounting firm I once consulted for, a federal compliance office, 2 anonymous Reddit threads I had bookmarked under throwaway usernames. Redundancy was everything now. I wasn't just protecting evidence. I was protecting the proof of my existence. At midnight, I created a new email address. Pseudonym only, no metadata. No links to me. I sent 5 teaser files, stripped of personal info, numbers only. Subject line, how to move $240. 000 in Q4 without anyone asking questions. I attached a note. This is not a leak. It's a mirror. Look closely, you've seen this before. Then I logged off, turned off the lights, and sat in the dark kitchen for a long time. Not afraid, not angry. Just clear. Day 1, 12 views. No comments, no reposts. No emails? I expected that. The first drop is never the one that lands. It's the one that tells them someone's watching. Day 3, 41 views, 2 comments, both anonymous. This looks familiar. Saw something like this before at a past job. Then came a third. Are you implying this is Dinerel? I didn't reply. I wasn't ready to be found. Not yet. I posted a second entry. Shorter, sharper, disappearing vendors. How approval chains die in silence. Screenshots redacted. IDs blurred. Just enough for someone who knew the system to feel uncomfortable. That night, I received an email. No greeting. No signature. Subject, take this down. Final warning, the body was empty. Just an attachment. A black square. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning. They were watching. The next morning, my LinkedIn got flagged. Suspicious behavior. Temporarily locked. Then my blog host received a copyright takedown. Sloppy, but enough to get the post auto-removed for review. I filed a counterclaim. 3 hours later, it was reinstated. But the message was clear. They were nervous. That same night, someone keyed my sister's car. Deep cuts, a pattern. Not random. She didn't say anything at first. But when she found the note under the windshield, a single sheet of paper with the word stop in block caps, she finally asked, "Are you sure this is worth it?" I paused. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I knew it too well. If I don't finish this, I said, someone else is next. I tightened my system, turned off location sharing, used only burner logins, swapped VPN nodes every 6 hours, kept 2 encrypted flash drives taped behind the mirror. I rehearsed scenarios, planned exit routes, mapped emergency contingencies. Not because I was afraid, but because they were, and fear makes people desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. Then a break. A finance blog reposted my second entry. Quiet. No credit. But the traffic spiked. I watched in real time. 200 views. 700 views. 200 in under 30 minutes. Someone linked it on a Slack forum. Another added it to an internal Substack thread titled, "Signs You're About to Be the Fall Guy." Within an hour, I got an email. This time from a name I recognized. Cass, freelance investigative reporter. I'd followed her work for years. Subject, I'm listening. What else do you have? I didn't reply right away. I needed to be sure. So I checked her credentials, matched her contact info against press databases, verified encryption keys, then I sent a test package. Redacted files. Only data, no names. She responded in under 10 minutes. You're sitting on something bigger than you think. And I think I can help you tell the world. I stared at her message. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like the first real step onto a frozen lake. Thin, dangerous, but silent, and I had no intention of turning back. Cass and I started slow. I didn't give her names, just outlines, numbers, vendor chains, patterns. She didn't ask for more. She cross-referenced everything I sent against public filings, industry blacklists, and litigation records. 3 days in, she wrote, "You're not dealing with one company. You're looking at a pattern across industries." She found it first. Redridge Equity, one of Dynorel's private equity backers. Old money, aggressive acquisition strategy. Ties to at least 2 of the shell vendors I had flagged, including Orion Freight. But that wasn't the worst part. Cass dug into a class action lawsuit settled quietly in 2021. A different logistics firm, different country. But the same vendor names, same billing style, same strategic write-offs. That case was buried under NDAs, but Cass had screenshots, depositions, partial transcripts. The language matched word for word. I remember exactly what she wrote. They've been bleeding companies dry from the inside, pulling capital through fake vendors, dumping the shells, and letting the core collapse. Dynorel's just the latest. She paused, then added, "This might go all the way up." And that's when I hesitated. For the first time, I felt it not fear, not doubt, but the edge of something too big to name. If I pulled this thread, I wasn't just taking down a company. I was stepping into a machine built to destroy quietly, legally, and without fingerprints. That same night, Cass messaged again. "Ever hear of Redridge AQ 4 Holdings?" I had one of the anonymous shell funds listed in our own audit trail. Cass sent over an org chart she built by hand. Names, timelines, cross-directorships. 2 board members from Dynorel also sat unofficially on advisory roles at AQ4. One of them was Julia's old mentor. The other, a retired VP whose signature had approved $6, $4M in vendor payments the quarter before mine. It wasn't incompetence. It wasn't fraud. It was choreography. Every quarter, create new shell, push funds through. Blame inefficiency, fire someone. Rebrand the strategy, repeat. Sometimes the scapegoat was a junior exec, sometimes an analyst, and sometimes someone like me, clean, convenient, expendable. Cass wanted to go public. I wasn't ready. I needed more, something undeniable, something internal. That's when I remembered a backup server I helped install 2 years ago. A fail-safe legacy cache from the Iris project. If the server hadn't been wiped, it might still hold the raw versions of the internal board memos, the ones edited before going public. I waited until noon the next day, logged in from a public library, used an old VPN tunnel I'd built back when I worked remote. Access code still worked. Folder, legacy com board. I held my breath. Inside, draft memos, unpublished call transcripts, performance reviews, legal draft notes. One memo was marked Q4 shareholder adjustment strategy. The final version, the one we'd seen in press kits, said operational alignment pending capital shifts, but the raw file, it said Q4 asset extraction strategy aligned with risk-buffered rebalancing. Extraction, not reallocation, not synergy, extraction. I printed it, stored it, tripled the backups. Cass messaged, "This is it. This changes everything." And I believed her. Because for the first time since they erased me, I wasn't just reacting, I was in control of the detonation. I didn't want revenge. Not really. What I wanted was precision. For once, I didn't want to improvise. I wanted every part of what came next to be intentional. So I made a list, not of enemies, of actions. Step 1. Catalog everything. The vendor trail. The memo edits. The shell directors. The forged logs. The email metadata. The approvals that disappeared. 3 folders. Each with enough evidence to trigger an investigation on its own. Together, they could cripple a corporation. Step 2. Create redundancy. Backed up to a hidden drive and a secondhand Kindle. 2 encrypted cloud accounts set with time delay release. QR encoded printouts hidden in hollowed out notebooks. A burner phone locked in airplane mode. Stashed inside an old router box. Each one programmed to auto-send files if I didn't log in every 72 hours. I rehearsed failure. Planned for my own disappearance. Not because I thought they'd kill me, but because they'd already tried to erase me once. This time, step 3, build the ignition device. I didn't want to post everything in one place. That's how whistleblowers get buried. I needed a Substack under a pseudonym, a mirrored Reddit thread in an obscure finance forum, a Google Drive set to view only, with 50 fake viewer accounts to make it look active, a note buried in a GitHub README file linking to a zip hidden behind code comments. I also wrote a burn notice, a single HTML file. Clean, elegant, 300 words. This is the system. This is what they did. This is who made it possible. No emotion, just architecture. Step 4, pick the drop point. Raventon's Q2 shareholder meeting, publicly streamed. CEO live on camera. Board attendance mandatory. Investors watching. Perfect. I circled the date in red. Step 5. Preload the pressure. Cass was almost done with her report. She was cautious she'd had stories spiked by corporate lawyers before. But once I sent her the raw board memo, she messaged, "This won't get buried. I'll run it through legal. Then take it national. Don't wait too long," I replied. "Because if I disappear, it won't be quiet." She paused. "You think they'd go that far?" "I think they already have." Final step. Let them feel safe. That's the key. Let the water go still. Let the temperature drop. Let them stop checking over their shoulder. Let them believe the story had already passed. Because the worst kind of damage is the one they watch unfold. 4 days before the meeting, I got an email from a crisis consultancy group. Polite, smooth, acting on behalf of Raventon leadership. They wanted to offer me a contract. Advisory role. Help guide transparency efforts. I laughed for 3 minutes straight. Alone. In my kitchen. Still wearing the same hoodie from the week before. They weren't trying to apologize. They were trying to contain. They didn't know it was already too late. I wrote back. "Thank you for your offer. I'm currently reviewing multiple opportunities. I'll be in touch." Let them sweat. The countdown had started. Not with an explosion. Not with a bang. With a button. One I hadn't pressed yet. But it was already blinking. The day of the shareholder meeting arrived with a strange stillness. Cloudy skies. Barely any wind. No texts. No warnings. No glitches. Just silence. The kind that comes right before something breaks. 10:00 a.m. Live stream begins. Raventon CEO Nolan Griggs sharpsuit. Smoother voice opens with confidence. "Thank you for joining us for our Q2 performance update. We've seen exciting resilience, key market stabilization, and forward-leaning capital shifts." He says words like transparency and renewed trust like he's just discovered them. Behind him, board members nod politely. Behind the camera, investors are listening, watching, calculating. I sit 2 miles away, corner booth. Cafe with weak Wi-Fi, laptop open, hotspot ready. Files loaded, 1 email draft, 1 Reddit post, 1 automated scheduler queued on 3 mirrors. 10:08 a.m. Griggs is mid-sentence. He's discussing cross-border logistics optimization. I click send. The email blast hits first. 42 recipients, national journalists, regulatory auditors, whistleblower platforms, 2 Twitter accounts that specialize in corporate takedowns, 1 activist investor group with a reputation for blood sport. Subject line, ghost vendors, real money, internal files attached. Attachments, the original memo, the vendor trail, the edited email logs, the forensic analysis Cass helped prepare. 10:11 a.m. The Reddit post goes live. Title: How a Fortune 500 retail firm used dead vendors to move millions. Body text: short, cold-coded, hyperlinked to a Substack post. Cass's article, just published. Title: Shell Games and Shareholders. The hidden drain beneath Raventon retail. Within minutes, upvotes spike, comments roll in. This is insane. Confirmed I worked there. It's real. Knew something was off. Now I know what. 10:14 a.m. On the live stream, Griggs's voice falters. A flicker in his eyes. He glances sideways, likely someone speaking in his earpiece. We're aware of some recent postings online, which we believe to be inaccurate. The feed stutters. A board member mutes their mic. Another kills their video. Background chatter spikes. Assistants checking phones. Someone clearly panicking off screen. The camera shifts to a wide angle. No one's smiling anymore. Twitter ignites. Hashtags trend within 20 minutes. Raventon leak. Red Ridge ties. Ghost money. Screenshots circulate. Cass's article hits 200,000 reads by the time Griggs tries to salvage the meeting. Too late. The SEC posts an official statement. We have received new material evidence. Review pending. 11:02 a.m. A former Dynarel employee, Anonymous, replies to Cass's article with, "We always knew. No one could prove it." Until now, someone else posts, "This woman, she just did what no internal audit could do in 5 years. No one says my name. That's exactly how I planned it." By noon, Raventon stock is down 12%. Red Ridge Equity releases a dry, trembling press statement. 3 board members go silent on LinkedIn. Julia's profile vanishes completely. Still no cease and desist. Still no denial. They know. And me. I log out, delete the burner accounts, scrub the caches, move the drives to cold storage. Then I shut the laptop completely. No need to keep watching. The avalanche is already moving. They can spend the next 6 months putting out fires. Hiring crisis PR. Blaming isolated oversights. Holding internal listening sessions. Let them. I don't need justice. I don't need headlines. I just needed the truth to have teeth. The real collapse didn't come with a bang. It came with inboxes full of questions. Emails sent at 3:17 a.m. And scheduled calls that suddenly never happened again. Within 48 hours, Cass's article hits 8 million views. 3 national outlets run versions of the story. Former employees flood Reddit, Discord, Substack comment sections, some anonymous, some not. One post stands out. "I was there when Julia buried a vendor audit. She said it was not worth the noise. Now I know why." Another. "I stayed quiet. I was scared." She wasn't. "Thank you. A junior analyst I trained DMs me through a burner. You gave me the courage to quit. I copied everything before I left." "Want it?" I reply. "Not yet, but save it." The SEC confirms a formal inquiry. Raventon's legal page goes offline for scheduled maintenance. Red Ridge Equity suspends all new investment activity pending restructuring. Investors withdraw. Whispers become headlines. And the headlines become history. My sister walks into the living room, holding her phone. "You're on the front page of Hacker News," she says. I shrug. "Without my name." "Yep, then that's not me." Still, it hits different when your ghost starts trending. I don't feel triumphant. Not victorious. Just steady. Like I threw a punch I'd rehearsed for months and felt nothing but air when it landed. Because they weren't strong enough to hit back. By the end of the week, 3 board members stepped down. Julia is unavailable for comment. Griggs gives a stilted on-camera apology with buzzwords like complexity and oversight gaps. "No one buys it." Cass forwards a message from a producer at a global news network. "We want her on camera. Voice distortion is fine. Just a statement." I decline. This wasn't about fame. This wasn't even about revenge anymore. Then comes the message I didn't expect. Subject: let's talk Raventon external consultant. A third-party firm? Polite. Corporate. Assisting with strategic restructuring and audit guidance. They want to engage me, to leverage my insights, to help the company restore trust. Translation: they want me to clean up their mess. The next day, a block number calls. I don't answer. Voicemail: we believe in second chances. It's clear you value integrity. We'd love to hear your thoughts. I laugh. Loud. Alone. At the same kitchen table where I built the detonator, they threw me out without a warning, used me as cover, tried to erase my name. And now, they want me to draft their redemption arc. 3 hours later, Cass sends another message. This one is different. A small, independent private equity firm. No scandal. No blood on the books. They're building a new retail group from scratch. They've read the story, connected the dots, and they're not scared. "We don't see you as a whistleblower," they write. "We see you as an operator, a strategist, someone who still gives a damn." Attached: role description, compensation, founding vision, board structure, no pressure. No NDA, just the door. Left open. I stare at it for a long time. I don't say yes. Not yet. Because for the first time in months, I'm not surviving. I'm choosing. I didn't respond right away. The offer sat in my inbox for 3 days. I didn't open the attachments again. Didn't forward it. Didn't tell anyone. I let it sit there, like a question I wasn't ready to answer. Because for the first time in months, the silence wasn't dangerous. It was peaceful. I walked the city without destination. No burner phone. No USB drives. No backup plans. Just me, a hoodie, a beat-up pair of sneakers, and a feeling I hadn't had in forever. Stillness. I watched people sip coffee, argue over parking spots, send Slack messages they thought mattered. And I remembered what it felt like to be one of them, someone who trusted systems without checking what they're built on. Then I remembered the box, the one I carried out of Raventon. Brown, silent, cardboard humiliation. I hadn't opened it since back at my sister's apartment. I pulled it out of the closet. Inside, my old ceramic mug, a half-used notepad, my company badge, a few broken pens, a sticky note I'd written during Q1. Follow anomalies, ignore politics. I smiled, held the mug in my hands, let the memories crash over me, and then I cried. Not from sadness, not grief, relief. I wasn't angry anymore, not even hurt, just free. That night, I opened my laptop, drafted a reply to the firm that had offered me the real opportunity. I didn't accept, not directly. Instead, I wrote, I'm not looking for a title. I'm looking for full operational autonomy, the right to walk away at any time, and veto power on anything tied to compliance. They replied, we expected nothing less. Then I posted something, just one thing, on the only account I hadn't deleted. LinkedIn. Don't let the door they close behind you be the only exit. There's always another way out. And sometimes it leads to something better. I didn't post it for sympathy. Didn't need applause. I posted it for the version of me who once sat across from HR, thinking it was over. That version didn't know that endings can be repurposed. That sometimes the real story starts after the lights go out. And now she does. And so do I. 6 months later, I walked into the lobby of a different company, not Raventon, not a reboot, something better. The walls were clean, the desks arranged in clusters. No fake glass quotes, no transparency decals, just work. And the people doing it. There was a small library in the corner, not for policies, but for novels, biographies, poetry. And above the coffee machine, ask questions. If no one can answer, ask again louder. A young intern walked up to me, barely 20, eager, still asking if she's allowed to speak up. Can I ask how you got here? She said. I paused, not for the words, but for the weight they carried. The long way, I said. But I brought a map, so no one else has to guess. She smiled, and nodded, and walked away. I stood in that lobby for a moment longer, not as a visitor, not even as a survivor, as someone who wrote the final page, and then started a new book. And no, I was never a spy. I was something far more dangerous. The one they tried to erase, who erased them first,